Hello, everyone. Welcome to the video lesson on evaluating expressions. All right, so first of all, expressions. Here's some examples of what you could be working with. These are from simple to a little bit complicated. And then next thing is keep in mind that whenever you're solving, evaluating, or simplifying, you want to be using order of operations. So you want to do everything inside of grouping symbols. Now, once you're inside of the grouping symbols, then you have to follow the order here: exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. Then when you're done with grouping symbols, you might have to go to another grouping symbol and begin again. Once you're done with all the grouping symbols, then you start with exponents that are not in grouping symbols: multiply, divide, add, and subtract, and so on. Now, notice that for multiplication division, if you have that in the same problem and they're not in grouping symbols, you will do the one on the left before you do the one on the right. So you will work the addition, subtraction, same thing, left to right. So up here, different types of grouping symbols. This used to be referred to as, when I was learning it, PEMDAS, but now they're calling it GEMDAS, because there's different grouping symbols than just parentheses. There's brackets, a square root / radical symbol, and fraction bars are also grouping symbols. All right, so we're going to work through a few of these. So here's the first one. Evaluate 3x squared plus 5 when x is 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace x with 4. So this x now becomes 4. So we're going to have 3, and we're going to put times, because that's 3 times x squared. If I don't put the multiplication, it might incorrectly look like 34 squared. We want to make it clear that only the x, only the 4 is being squared, so we want to put 3 times. And then plus 5. Okay, so again, order of operations, there are no grouping symbols. Exponents comes next, so 4 squared, not 34 squared, but 4 squared. So that's 4 times 4, 16, plus 5. Multiplication comes for addition. So we're going to have 48, 3 times 16, 48, plus 5, and we wind up with 53. All right, next one has a fraction bar, so we have a grouping symbol here. Same concept. We're told what x is, and we are told what y is. So I'm going to replace x with 3. So 6 times x becomes 6 times 3. So I've taken care of 6 times 3 plus 7 divided by, and in the denominator, y is negative 5. All right, so a fraction bar is a grouping symbol because it tells you to do everything up top before you do anything with the bottom. That is, you don't want to do 6 divided by negative 5. So it's kind of like, it's sort of like having a parentheses here. So I've got to do everything up top first. So 6 times 3, so I get 18, plus 7 divided by negative 5. We can still consider the top grouped together. Now I have to continue with the numerator. 18 plus 7. Continue down here, so we get 25 divided by negative 5. Now that I've got the numerator down to one number, I don't need the grouping symbol. It's just one number. So now I can do the division. So 25 divided by negative 5, and we get negative 5. All right? Here's one that's a little bit practical. Use the given formula to convert 20 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. So we're basically the last country in the world that measures degrees in Fahrenheit. The rest of the world measure things in Celsius. So if you go somewhere or if you read a temperature for another country, you're probably going to see it in terms of Celsius. Here's a real basic formula that you can use to convert it to Fahrenheit. So Fahrenheit equals, I'm going to do 9/5 times Celsius, right? C, 20 degrees Celsius, so 20 plus 32. By the way, and this might help you guys out with this one, and you're welcome to use it. If you are struggling or if you want something just to check your answers, entirely up to you. You can use an online calculator, which is very helpful, especially when you do graphing, but it's also great if you're struggling with, or if you want something to check your order of operations, and you guys have probably already worked with those. If you just go to desmos.com. And if I were you, I would select the graphing calculator. If you download it on your phone, I would select the graphing calculator version, not the scientific, because when we get to graphing, if you only download the scientific version, it will not do any graphing. All right, so Fahrenheit equals, when we do 9/5 times 20, the way that I do this is I do 20 divided by 5, it's 4, and then multiply by 9. But that's up to you. That's a quick way for me to do it. Again, 20, and then it's divided by 5, that's 4, times 9 is 36. So 36 plus, so I took care of the multiplication before the addition. Technically, you could do 9 divided by 5, get a decimal, multiply it by 20, but I'm comfortable multiplying a fraction by a whole number, so that works for me. But again, you can do 9 divided by 5, should get 1.8, times 20, you're still going to get 36. Okay. And the last step is only addition, and so we're going to wind up with 68 degrees, and remember that was Fahrenheit. So 20 degrees Celsius is equivalent to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Same temperature, just 2 different scales. All right, so here's one that's a little bit trickier. So we got 16 minus 3 times square root W plus 4 plus Z over 7. I just realized I need to change one thing. If this is going to be a whole number answer, change this right here to 40. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess. All right, so here we go. I'm going to have to plug this in for W and 56 in for Z. So 16 minus 3. You can put the dot for multiplication 3 times. The dot isn't here, but if it helps you remember its multiplication, put the dot in there. Square root says W plus 4. W is 140. After that, we have plus Z over 7. Remember, Z is 56. Z is 56. All right, so I've got 2 grouping symbols. I've got a square root symbol, and I've kind of got a fraction bar which groups top and bottom, but there's really nothing. They're one term there. So I'm going to focus on this grouping symbol right here. I have to do what's inside the square root first. So all this stuff remains. 16 minus 3 times square root 140 plus 4, 144 plus 56 over 7. All right. So now I have to go to exponents. Well, I'm going to finish with my radical, right? Because radical is kind of a grouping symbol. So I'm going to take the square root right here. So I'm going to have 16 minus 3 times square root of 144. It's going to give us 12 plus 56 over 7. So now I have a multiplication, subtraction, addition, division. Well, multiply and divide has to happen before add and subtract, assuming there's no grouping symbols. So I've got to do my multiplication and then my division. So I'm going to have 16 minus 3 times 12 plus, after I do my multiplication, I can do my division, 56 divided by 7. And now we can finish it up. We've got subtraction and addition. Remember, if you have, just like with multiplication and division, you do the one on the left. If you have subtraction and addition, you do the one on the left first. So I have to do 16 minus 36. And then I can do negative 20 plus 8. Okay, so that's the basics of evaluating expressions.